Why Google is on its biggest test in India? How can one Supreme Court judgment can change India's digital landscape? And how can CCI break Google's Android monopoly? Over 95% of smartphones run on Android, and this dominance is facing its biggest challenge yet. In Supreme Court, Google is battling against Competition Commission of India in a case where it can change how we use our phones, how we pay for apps, and even India's digital ecosystem. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today we are going to understand that the upcoming Supreme Court hearing of Google versus Competition Commission of India can be a game changer, and what are the implications that lie in there for you, for the economy and the whole of the digital landscape. So let us start by understanding the case itself. So when we talk about this case, there are two parties which are involved. The first one being Google itself, which is a global tech giant, and 95% of smartphones are Android users, which come in from this particular party. When we talk about the second party involved in this case, it is Competition Commission of India, which is India's antitrust regulator. Now, when we talk about this particular dispute, this has emerged because of the fact that there has been an alleged abuse of dominance by Google, especially in the Android ecosystem that has taken place. And this was basically the complaint which was filed by industry stakeholders back in 2020. So this is a case which has not just emerged right now, rather it has been in the pipeline, in the system of legalities for a while now. So let us get into the timeline of this dispute. So in 2020, the industry stakeholders filed a complaint against Google for the abuse of dominance, especially in the Android ecosystem, and Competition Commission of India started its investigation. Now, almost 2 years later, in October 2022, we found that Competition Commission of India fined Google for 936 crores plus behavioral remedies, all of this which amounted almost to 1,336 crores, and it also issued behavioral remedies to Google. Furthermore, after 3 years later, in March 2025, we found that NCLAT went ahead, National Companies Law Tribunal went ahead and upheld part of Competition Commission of India, and further it reduced the fine at Google's end to only 216 crores. Now, this case has gone ahead to the Supreme Court, and the hearing is pending for upcoming November, and that hearing will take place in a detailed format. Now, why this case has been brought up at such a significant point, and why are we here talking about it? Because this is one case which can go ahead and change how the Android ecosystem looks like, smartphone ecosystem, and even India's digital ecosystem looks like at this present time. This verdict can also inspire regulatory actions for other countries, especially against big techs like Google. Now, this is why that we need to understand this case and the implications that come from herein. So now that we have understood the basics of this case, now let us get into a little more detail and understand that what are the core allegations and what is the justification that is coming from Google's end. So if we talk about the allegation by CCI and the key findings in here, we find that the Google Play billing system is basically mandatory, which has been against the competition practice that exists in our country. What has been found by CCI that developers are being forced to use GPBS, that is Google Play billing system, for any sort of in-app payments. So if you have to purchase a subscription in a given app, you still have to use GPBS, and this is being forced on the developers. Furthermore, this billing system is costing a commission in the range of 15 to 30%, which is definitely affecting the developers' margin in their own apps. And another thing that has been found is the fact that Google's own app, that is YouTube, it is exempted from this whole system, which is an unfair advantage which is being enjoyed by this particular platform. If we move ahead and see the another key finding from CCI is that there has been bundling of Google apps. So when you have to access Play Stores in Android smartphones, you will find that there is a pre-installation of all the Google search, Chrome and YouTube. Basically the Google apps have been bundled and they would be pre-installed if you want to use Play Store in your phone. And this has led to reduction in consumer choice. It has also suppressed any kind of rival app innovation that can take place. But these key findings have been justified and also negated by Google in their own arguments. For example, they have said that Android is an open source and manufacturers are free to use it without Google apps if they want to. Furthermore, they have also highlighted that we are bundling Google apps because it is better for user experience and security. They are also saying that fair competition and security exists because there has been success of many other apps such as PhonePe, Paytms. That means in the competitive ecosystem, there is no as such dominance of their own apps or their billing payment system. And they have also highlighted that what they are doing is similar to the global norms in terms of commission, because commissions are very comparable to App Store and other such examples that they have given. So now in this scenario, both of the sides have their key findings and arguments, but what is important for us here to know is the fact that what will this hearing bring for us and what are the implications in front of us. When we talk about India's digital market, we have to understand its expanse is so much that it is second largest in terms of Indian internet users. The mobile users are more than 1 billion, and if we are talking about smart OS share, then Android has more than 95% in India. And I am sharing this because whatever is the end of the case, it is going to affect the scale of the market. And it is also going to affect another 13% of GDP, which we are expected that the digital economy will amount to by the end of this year. Similarly, it becomes, there has been a renewed focus by the government as well, where they are focusing on platforms like UPI, ONDC, and startup ecosystem has also been very much reliant on the digital landscape that we are talking about. And amidst this, when we are talking about Google's dominance or its policies, it is limiting the bargaining power of the new players, it is limiting the landscape of the digital economy, and it is raising costs for Indian developers, and that is why it needs to be addressed. Now moving ahead and understanding that what are the possible outcomes and how will they affect you and how will they affect the economy. So if we talk about the consumer, and if the hearing comes with a CCI, pro-CCI verdict, then we will see that there will be more payment options which will be available to you apart from GBPS. There will be potential in terms of price drop when we are talking about apps, in-app purchases and their services. However, it will also lead to a risk at consumer end, where you will find fragmented and inconsistent user experience because there will be no standardization in terms of pre-installed apps. But when we talk about the outcomes for Indian startups, they will have greater independence from GBPS. That means they will have higher margins, they will have more innovation, and it will also be easier in terms of distribution without any mandatory bundling that has been coming in from Google. Apart from this, at the end of Google, they might need to unbundle apps and also focus on billing globally. If India sets precedent, then there is a possibility that other countries might also come up with such new norms. They might have to rethink their whole Android revenue model, and that will also affect the digital ecosystem of present times that we see. And if we talk about India's digital policy, It will give a direct boost to Competition Commission of India's regulatory authority. It will also set a global example that how India has balanced innovation, it has balanced competition, consumer rights in terms of platform economies, and it directly will align, no matter where it sides, it will directly align with India's push for open digital public infrastructure, where we have just seen the examples like UPI and ONDC. Now that was all from my side. Thank you so much.